एवरीवन, दिस इज़ मुस्कान और हम स्टार्ट करेंगे इंडियन पॉलिटी पार्ट 2 पिट्स इंडिया एक्ट 1784 के साथ, विच कंसिस्ट ऑफ ड्यूअल गवर्नमेंट, जिसके अंदर डिवीजन ऑफ फंक्शंस होते हैं, जहाँ पे दो पार्ट्स आते हैं हमारे पास. फर्स्ट इज़ कोर्ट ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स एंड सेकेंड इज़ बोर्ड ऑफ कंट्रोल. अब हम कोर्ट ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स की बात करते हैं. कोर्ट ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स के अंदर हमारे पास 24 मेंबर्स होते हैं ऑफ ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी, और ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है बिकॉज ये अपॉइंटमेंट करता है ऑफ ऑफिसर्स ऑफ ECI एज वेल एज ऑफिसर, ये अपॉइंटमेंट करता है गवर्नर जनरल की भी. अब हम बोर्ड ऑफ कंट्रोल की बात करते हैं. बोर्ड ऑफ कंट्रोल के अंदर मिलिट्री और सिविल फंक्शंस आते हैं, केसेस आते हैं. इसके अंदर 6 मेंबर्स होते हैं, जिसमें से फर्स्ट इज़ सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट, सेकंड इज़ चांसलर ऑफ एक्सचेकर एंड 4 members are from privy councillor. Okay, now we will be talking about the functions of Pitt's India Act. Governor General Council is reduced to 3 members. उसके बाद इंडियन जो अफेयर्स थे वो ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट के पास चले जाते हैं. आपके पास गवर्नर जनरल हैज़ राइट टू वीटो. ओके, एंड देन देयर इज़ 1 out of 3, 1 commander in chief should sit in the council. New territories known as British possessions in India. Then we have Governor Council established in Bombay and Madras. Disclosure of property of civil and military officers within 2 months of their service. Now we will be starting with Charter Act of 1786, where Cornwallis become the Governor General of Bengal plus has the power of commander-in-chief. Now in this act, this Charter Act, what happens is the Governor General, means the Cornwallis, have the overriding power of the decision of council. Charter Act of 1793 is extended the earlier charter for 20 years and no royal approval was needed. Now next is Charter Act of 1813, where charter means trading license given by British government. Here Napoleon Bonaparte used commercial systems. The trade monopoly was terminated except for tea trade and trade with China. Second function is that this act increased the sovereignty, crown sovereignty over British possessions in India. Third, this government gave 1 lakh rupees for education. Religious propagation started especially for Christian missionaries, and this act also continued for 20 years. Next we have this Charter Act of 1833, also known as St. Helena Act. Here the final step of centralization took place. Here in this act, Law Commission was formed by Lord Macaulay, as well as Lord Macaulay introduced CRPC and IPC in India. Here this act was extended, renewed for, this charter was renewed for 20 years. And Governor General of Bengal became Governor General of India, who is William Bentinck. Next we have Charter Act of 1853. This is the last charter. It has not been extended with 20 years. There was no time limit. Britishers forget to extend this. This was beneficial to get free India. Now this act also gave us open competition in civil services, open for Indians also. There were legislative and executive functions separated. Okay, legislature here means parliament and executive means council of ministers. Governor General of India in this act, at the time of this act, was Dalhousie. Now we have next act, which is Revolt of 1857 or Sepoy Mutiny. Indian Council Act of 1861. Introduction of portfolio system means departmentalization. Then we have issues, empowers the ordinance issue. 3 Indians were elected in Legislative Council: Sir Dinkar Rao, Maharaja of Patiala and Maharaja of Banaras. Then we have the decentralization of legislature power, means the voting of MLA in state legislative assemblies. Next is the Indian Council Act of 1892. Here, very first time, elections were introduced that were not direct elections, it was indirect elections, means nomination, were introduced. Here, budget was introduced, discussion of budget and question to the executive happened. Legislature council was expanded. Next is Indian Council Act of 1909, also known as Morley-Minto reforms. Morley is Secretary of State and Minto is the Viceroy. Here, Dr. Sitinder Prasad Sinha was appointed as the first Indian in Viceroy Council, Executive Council, and separate communal electorate for Muslims happened. Direct elections for the first time were introduced, and then in a direct council and legislative council members were increased from 16 to 6. Now we have Government of India Act 1919, also known as Montagu-Chelmsford reforms, where Montagu is Secretary of State and Chelmsford is Viceroy. Here we have separate communal electorate representations for Sikhs, Christians, Anglo-Indians and Europeans. We have bicameralism, we have diarchy, where we have two lists. Diarchy means a provisional list which is divided into two parts. One is transferred list, which is for Indians, and the other one is reserved list, which is for the Britishers. Statutory commission was set up for checking that 10 years how this act will work, right? And then we have limited franchisee set up, and in 1920 Chamber of Princes called Narendra Mandal happened, and in 1927 Simon Commission was held. In this commission, this was set up to inquire about the working of 1919 Act. This was Indian statutory body headed by Sir John Simon. This commission failed because not a single Indian was included in this commission. Then after this, round table conference happened in London. Let's talk about them. In 1930, British government summoned in London to discuss Simon Commission report with Indian leaders and British spokesmen. First roundtable conference was boycotted by Congress leaders. Second, all the three roundtable conferences were attended by Sarojini Naidu and B.R. Ambedkar, where B.R. Ambedkar demanded for separate electorate for depressed classes. And in 1932, communal award was given by British PM Ramsay MacDonald to B.R. Ambedkar for supporting depressed classes. And then Mahatma Gandhi was against this, and a series of negotiations happened between Mahatma Gandhi and depressed classes. This resulted into Pune Pact. Pune Pact is basically reservation of seats for depressed classes out of journal seat electorate in provisional legislature. This Pune Pact was signed between Congress leaders and depressed classes. Attendees of round table conference were representatives of British government, British Indian representatives and representatives of princely states. In 1934, M.N. Roy demanded for Constitution of Indians. This resulted into Government Act of 1935, also known as mini constitution of India, where all Indian federation was introduced but which never came into action. Then there were three lists were proposed, that is the federal list, concurrent list and provisional list. Here we have separate electorate for women, SC and lepers. Establishment of Reserve Bank of India happened and a diarchy was abolished in provision but introduced in center but not implemented. More autonomy was given to provision and bicameralism was also introduced. Then we have federal courts were established and Indian councils were abolished. Most of the recommendations of Seven Commission were incorporated in Government of India Act 1919.